Alright, last video we kind of reviewed the really interesting fate of the original game, but now we're going to talk about potentially one of the biggest fighting games of all time, that being its sequel, Street Fighter 2. Created in 1991, like I said, it's a sequel to the original game, still focusing off the command-based moves and the 6-button configuration. The players have, this time, an actual roster to select. Now, it is credited for, basically spreading a wave of fighting game popularity during the 90s. Now, Street Fighter 2 is kind of also notorious for, its multiple updates. Now, but for this video, we're just going to cover the major first three, that being World Warrior, Champions Edition, and Hyper Fighting. There's even plenty of home ports as well that have, welcomed. Some of the home versions have actually sold millions. The SNES port is, literally the best-selling consumer game of 2008. Played it myself, you guys should actually try it. It's actually really cool. A lot of changes actually occur in Street Fighter 2, and one of them specifically is the roster. This time, you got a choice of 8 characters to play as. Ryu returns, still with Hadouken, Shoryuken, and Tatsumaki Senpukyaku. Ken, this time around, is playable with the lore that he marries Eliza basically at the end of the game. And then you've got 6 new characters. Dawson, a monk from India, Zangief, a wrestler from Russia, or the USSR at the time, Guile, a military combatant from the USA, E Honda, a sumo wrestler and teacher from Japan, Chun-Li, a martial artist from China, and Blanca, a wild monster that was actually just a lost child from Brazil. Now, it still continues the one-on-one close combat with the best 2 out of 3 matches. All you gotta do, just like the simple system of fighting games in case you forgot, is just to knock out the opponent's vitality until you win. Now, there is many occurrences that could happen. If you kill each other at the same time, a double KO happens and you have to rematch each other's. If you draw the game with the same amount of health, it is declared as a draw, like I said, and several rounds will be played until a sudden death occurs. In specifically the World Warrior, a match could last up to 10 rounds if there was no clear winner. And this was reduced to 4 in Champions Edition and then onwards. If there's no clear winner in basically just any Street Fighter game, then either the CPU will win by default or both views would lose if it was a 2-player match. Every 3rd match in the single-player mode, there's always a bonus game. Now, just to be very specific, bonus games were removed in Super Turbo, just in exchange for fighting Akuma. Again, we're not covering Super in this video, but this is just as a heads up. Now, there is 2 in the arcade version and 1 in the original no, 3 in the arcade, 4 on the SNES version. You had to break a car, which is actually a throwback to Final Fight. You had to break barrels, which were dropped off a conveyor belt, and a drum breaking bonus game where they are set off floatable. The 4th one was actually specifically only for the Super Nintendo version. I don't know if the Sega Genesis version has it, but it's one where you have to break the bricks. Now, like the original game, it has directional inputs, 8 of them, and 6-button attacks. Again, each of them have their own moves and can perform certain actions. Holding back, again, is still with the block button. 3 attacks, 3 kicks, light, medium, heavy, and they all each have their own range, damage, and speed. The players can perform a variety of basic moves in any position, including grabs, which were not featured in the original game. Now, you can still perform special moves by inputting a combination of directional-based attacks. Some of the executions are easier, some of these moves are much easier than the original game, which is another reason that vanilla Street Fighter 2 was popular, or Street Fighter 2 as a whole. Specifically in World Warrior, but I'm pretty sure Hyper Fighting Champion also has it. Street Fighter 2 is very notorious for the cancelling attacks sort of thing. Basically, you can just cancel some like mini combo into a special move. You can even cancel it off into another move, and there's just a lot of combo potential. Like, not like if you watch off the TAS videos, like yeah, they might be canceling one move into another into a special, but that is realistically something you can do if you just use a lot of effort. The bosses in the game are actually 4 CPU-controlled bosses based on the organization Shaoloo. Balrog, also known as Mike or M. Bison, is an African-American boxer who was banned from formal tournaments. Vega from Spain Balrog in Japan, is a narcissist Spanish matador and bullfighter who fights ninjutsu. So the guy from the original game basically comes back this time as a former champion with a scar on his chest. And M. Bison, also known as Vega, is a military commander and leader of a drug cartel known as Shaoloo. Now, there was a few name-changing sort of things. Now, the names were changed between Balrog, Bison, and Vega because the character M. Bison, aka Balrog, resembled Mike Tyson to the point of likeness infringement, and also Capcom USA's marketing that Vega was a weak-sounding name for the final opponent, whose character and theme they wanted to further emphasize. In Japanese edition, you can actually play as the bosses, but they were slightly toned down just to make the game pretty, like, fairly just fair, okay? Now, each of these characters have their own movesets, so I'm gonna just give you all the breakdown of what they can do. Balrog has 2 dash attacks. Those are specifically champions because, well, Balrog's not playing with the World Warrior unless you hacked your Super Nintendo. Both his dash attacks are hold back, forward, and either punch or kick, resulting in an upper or a straight. Both of them depending on if it's heavy, light, or medium, will either knock down the enemy or just give damage. His turn punch is resulted in holding all your punch buttons and then releasing. This is in Balrog's weakest spot in the World Warrior, because if he turned around and you attacked him, you're just getting a free kill. Balrog was easy to kill in the World Warrior. Blanca has his famous Electric Thunder, which is just performed by mashing punch on your, well, pad, controller, whatever. As well as his Blanca Ball, which is performed by holding back and forward. His vertical roll does get introduced in, I presume it was Hyper Fighting. It's the opposite, like complete opposite to his Blanca Roll input. Hold down, then up and kick. Chun-Li is not only known as the first playable character in, like, well, female character in the Street Fighter series, but the whole fighting game genre. She does have really good speed, and also has like a wall jump, so yeah. Her Hyakuretsu Kyaku, or to simplify it, lightning legs, is performed by mashing kicks. Spinning bird kick, now, I've not used Chun-Li that much, but I presume it was hold back then forward kick. I probably have to double check with someone, or someone has to remind me. Then you got the Kukoken, which is hold back then forward and punch, which was only in Hyper Fighting because we're talking the original trilogy. Olsen from India is very unique, and he hasn't done anything big except like Alpha 3 and 5. Dalston has like very slow but really good range. He's like a really interesting zoner. He has Yoga Fire, which is the Hadoken import. For those who don't remember, it's a quarter circle forward motion and punch. Yoga Flame is performed with a half circle forward input and punch. He does get his Yoga Teleport, but that is like the same input as Ashura Senku, if I recall. E Honda was a rather interesting character, very notorious in specifically like champions and Hyper Fighting, because you can literally move while you're doing 100 hand slap. Speaking of 100 hand slap, the input is performed by mashing punch. Sumo headbutt is the same, well, it's hold back then fall, basically Kukoken's input. I don't know. The Sumo Splash was introduced in Hyper Flying, that is performed with hold crouch, then up and kick. Guile is a very interesting, character. His glitches and excellent combo ability is what makes him pretty famous. Also his theme. But yes, Guile in the entire legacy of Street Fighter 2 only had 2 moves. Sonic Boom, which is the same input as Honda Sumo Headbutt, and Flash Kick, hold crouch then jump kick. Ken is essentially just a clone character, so I don't need to break it down, to be fair. And Bison / Vega is a really interesting character, for a charge character at least. Psycho Crusher is performed the same way Honda Sumo Headbutt is inputted. His head press actually has a follow-up. If you hold down then up and kicks, you have the head press, but if you connect the attack with a punch mid-air, you got your somersault skull diver. Then you've got your double knee, or some people refer to as scissors kicks, that is hold back then forward kick. Then we got Ryu, same moveset as the original game, moving on. Sagat is really overpowered in this game. So he's got his Tiger Shot, so both crouch and... So the crouch one is the Hadouken input but with the kick, and the Tiger, the regular one, is just performed regularly, just like Ryu's Hadouken. The Tiger Uppercut is the same input as Ryu's Shoryuken, but this is just cheap damage at its finest. Vega is also a charge character, and you gotta watch out for his wall climbing attack when you're fighting him as a CPU, because oh my god, there's a lot that you can do with him. Now, to sum it up, it's essentially the same inputs as what most of the charge characters I've listed has. Just like Bison, he has a follow-up to his hold down jump attack, his Barcelona attack. You can grab by holding back and punch, or you can just let the attack slide. He's also got a backslash, which is performed by all punches. Fun fact, Vega was actually programmed to not block, hence he always does a backflip every time you're trying to attack him on the ground, which is why cheesing him out with ground attacks is always helpful. Last but not least, out of the original trilogy, before Super at least, Zangief. Literally, he has I think 4 supers in the legacy of original Street Fighter 2. His Lariat, which is all punches pressed together. He's also got a fast one, which was exclusive to just Hyper Fighting. We never saw it again. That is all kicks pressed together. Spinning Pole Diver is the 360 motion and punch, so he's kind of introduced the mainstream grappler kind of stuff like that. And I don't remember if it's just the Super games or this one, but Atomic Flower is done with the same input but with a kick. Now, every character has their own stage, and if you're low on health, the song kind of goes in with it just paced up, the pitch is going faster. Yeah. Now let's talk about Hyper Fighting. I've not actually covered that a lot, I just realized. But basically, it's kind of hinted, yeah, the name says it all. The game's overall speed just pitches up, new moves were introduced. All the color schemes from Champion Edition, specifically the ults, get replaced, except M. Bison, who uses his original scheme as a default. His green color is replaced with a white one at least. That's practically all I gotta talk about for this game at least. But this game, if you play it, you'll know why everyone is, just loves it. If you want to see me review Super Turbo in, the next video or something like that, just hit a like and subscribe, and, well, let's get punching.